couple of things. So in terms of your PhD, what did you actually find what you were hoping to find or what you were expecting to find? Like, what did you start out wanting to know and wanting to answer? And, I mean, I think we all come into it with a hypothesis. And what did you find in the end with that?
What I found is, well, we had a general idea that, when I looked up, well, what puts children into hospital, what makes children sick, and, we spend, as the taxpayer in New Zealand, $132,000 a day on the removal under general anaesthetic of multiple teeth in preschoolers. And we'll get up tomorrow and do the same thing. And we do know that 42% of Australian children will experience dental caries by the time they're 5 years old. And so there was some questions about that, and sort of think, okay, well, most of the promotion is around oral hygiene, and why is that when it is a disease of dietary origin was acknowledged as such, by the 1930s, and that prevention by dietary means was the main thing. So, and then realised that the dietary guidelines in New Zealand weren't exactly lining up with the evidence. And so then and then there's also a paucity of interventions looking at whether you can improve dental health and general metabolic health with a dietary intervention. There's been plenty on dietary intervention for metabolic health, and there's been plenty on a range of interventions with oral hygiene and education, and advice to reduce sugars, which is really quite vague. And then sort of thought, okay, well, if you're going to design a further intervention, you need to access the knowledge of your targets of your intervention, but also that of your health professionals who are involved. And then, given that knowledge, what are the barriers that people experience to eating well on the basis of that knowledge? What stops people eating optimally? So there's been a range of things. We've found that, we've looked at the burden of dental caries, and that it's borne disproportionately by people of lower socioeconomic status and in certain ethnic groups. And we also looked at the dietary factors that are also associated with benefit for dental health, but also harm, and then looked at the degree to whether that was reflected in official government endorsed advice or not. And then we also and then what I decided to do was use a novel card sorting strategy so that we could compare the knowledge of children and parents, but also health professionals, about foods and behaviours, including dietary behaviours that were beneficial for both oral health and general health. And so what we found is that the knowledge of foods for both oral health and general health were broadly aligned with dietary guideline recommendations, which for children involve a frequent intake of carbohydrate-based foods such as breads and cereals. And for growing children, that by the time children reach adolescence, they should be consuming that up to about 6 times per day. But also alongside that is the recommendations to choose low-fat options when consuming dairy produce and to eat lean meat. But the evidence, and this is not new evidence by any means, suggests that your vitamin D rich products such as your eggs, your meat, and your vitamin K2 rich products, which include your fermented cheeses, are hugely beneficial for dental health because of the bone formation. We know about vitamin D and immune function, but also as far as bone and growth development bone and tooth development goes, it's very, very important, but also really important for maintaining the health of your teeth through the life course.